Good Thursday evening, everybody. This is becoming a bit regular this now, but delighted as always to be joined by Dill as always, and delighted to be joined by a former BDO darts world champion and the voice of Pirates TV, Scotty Mitchell. How are we doing this evening, gentlemen?
Well, I'm all good. I don't know about you guys. It's a bit wet down here, but apart from that, it's okay. It's not speedway weather, that's for sure.
At least it's not the snow that we had last week, though.
Oh, we don't get that down near the sea.
And we must also, first of all, start off by thanking Scott for joining us. He's been on commentary all day on the Motor Super Series, so to come back from there and straight on to here, it is much appreciated.
It's not a problem, guys. Not a problem at all.
Palmer, do you want to lead us off?
So the first real question, to be fair, Scott, is what was it that got you into Speedway?
My mum and dad, our whole village used to go to Poole Speedway back in the day, and so I went to my first Speedway meeting 2 weeks after I was born in a carry cot. So how can you not want to love? I must have been able to smell it or something, and I've just loved it ever since. It's just one of those things. It's the thing. I suppose when I was younger, I probably used to watch the tractor more than the bikes. That used to frustrate me, mum and dad. But obviously, being farmers, I'd run over and watch the tractor grade, and then when the racing was on, I'd run off and play with my mates. But no, I've just loved it from then. And my grandparents used to go, and my uncle. It was a whole family affair, really. Cousins, and our little village where we live, used to be empty on a Wednesday night because everybody was at the speedway. It was massive. We used to stand on bend one, and it would be 5 and 6 deep, and just amazing times in the 70s.
And Palmer introduced it there. You are now the voice of Pirates TV. You're involved almost in the inner circle. Was that always a plan to get into the inner circle, or is it just an opportunity that's been afforded through support and stuff like that?
I think a bit of both, really. I think the notoriety that comes with being a world champion was good. I've always gone down there, and I kind of sort of knew Matt, and I think they knew I played darts, but I think they just thought I played darts at the pub, and just chucked a few arrows in the local leagues, which I did. And then when you become a world champion, it's lovely. They took me out, and we had the trophy out on the centre green and stuff. It was lovely.
And me and you've spoke about this before on another podcast, but you used to play with with your shirt with the Poole logo on your sleeve, and that obviously had to stop when you got into the PDC. But you've always shown support for Poole.
Yeah, Speedway's just my thing. A lot of people it's football, a lot of people it's rugby or whatever, but there's just something for me and Speedway. I just absolutely love it. I've loved it from the minute I understood it as a kid, and I still love it now. And I get a bit annoyed if I have a darting clash or something and I miss meeting at Poole. I'm not happy. I'm not a happy bunny.
Palmer?
And you mentioned, obviously, you're part of the Pirates TV setup, and as somebody that used to be in another club streaming setup myself, what's your sort of like your schedule, if you like, for a race day?
Well, firstly, I actually started with Rerun, was how it started. And then when Rerun phoned me up and kind of sacked me and said, we're not doing it anymore at Poole. And I thought, okay, Steve, well, never mind. Oh, well, that's the end of that. And then within about 2 hours, I had a call from Dan Ford saying, would you like, we're going to do a live stream. Would you like to do a live stream? And I'm like, all our stuff was pre-recorded on Rerun. And if you messed it up, I just voiced it over. They phoned me up and I voiced it over, and it went on the DVD. So it was a bit daunting, to be honest, to go into something. Darts is easy for me to commentate on. I play, I know how it feels. But then when you go into Speedway, because I've never ridden, and I'm not an Anorak fan as such, I just love the game. So my head's like a sieve, so I don't remember half the stuff. So for me to then come and be asked to do it, I was a bit nervous, but I said yes. And I started doing it like being a fan. So for me, I have to be down at the track sort of really at the latest 5:30. And then we do a few little pre-records There would be me presenting the show. That's a pre-record. And then sometimes I go over to the pits and do a bit of interviewing, or sometimes just somebody else. We have the lovely Beth who works with us now. She does some of the interviews. And then I go and try and find as much information as I can. I just then wheedle up and down the pits, skulk about, try and take it all in, and then trying to have it as material for being used. So we go live at around 7:15. We obviously have to do camera checks and tests and mic tests and everything every week because obviously it's a stadium and it's outdoors. You never know who's been doing stuff at the stadium and might have cut one of your permanent mic leads through. So you've got all that to do. Cameras to set up and things. Sometimes I go and help set those up or take them down and take things to pieces. And then, we go live at about 7:15 with the pre-match stuff. I do the pre-match lineup records goes out. And then we go live at about 25 past, 28 minutes past, something like that. And then it's kind of down to me to fill with whatever I see fit to fill. I have this year we had a twin com idea. So Rob Dyer, who obviously is most people within Speedway know Rob Dyer is. He's an absolute hive of knowledge. Just the most brilliant Speedway man, and he sits in alongside me. So I kind of try to do the presenting side of things, whereas I don't do that with darts. I'm the pundit. I'm the guy that's done it and been up there and bought the T-shirt. But with Speedway, I can't say that I've done that. So I'm having to try and be a bit more of a presenter come broadcaster, which I think I get there, but sometimes I just get carried away being a Paul fan.
And you mentioned before the twin idea, you did it solo, and me and Palmer do these things we like to call watch-alongs, where we'll watch and commentate on meetings that are happening. We've done a few pool ones, so we sort of commentate on what you're commentating on without hearing what you're saying. But it's really difficult to do it solo as well. How was that for you?
I didn't have a problem with it. I can be a bit random at times, so I will go off schedule and maybe talk about how Bournemouth got on that night or the week before, or something will come into my head, or the guys will be spanning around. The biggest thing that makes me sweat is when they come out with the bags of quick drying concrete after a crash, and it's going to be an hour, or I think you're going to be 45 minutes, and you're there, oh no, what are we going to talk about? But the lovely thing with Rob Dyer is we're able to bounce things off of one another, and we go back to good old anything really to do with old helmets, who wore what leathers, and because of my knowledge of being at Speedway at Poole for so long, we could talk about riders from the past, and we just try to fill it any way we can.
It almost sounds identical to what it was like when I was at Scuddy TV, although we just used the filler as asking everybody what they had for tea.
Yeah. Sometimes we question what we had for tea. Sometimes when we're getting that desperate, what did you have tonight? Well, we had to be here at 5:30, and I had to have my apple at 4:15. And it just honestly, and some of the guys I used to get messages going, "What the hell are you guys on about?" It is so funny. We just turn it into a joke. That's the best thing.
And you can't really go wrong with having a fan as a commentator. I know some clubs have fans and they're really biased towards their team, which just comes naturally. But I've also noticed with yours, you try to be as impartial as possible as well.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I do. There are moments. At the end of the day, the one thing that shines through with me is I am a sportsman. I think if you're a sportsman in any sport, and you've been to the top end, you kind of understand how sport works. So, there are moments where you do have to proverbially sit on the fence, and I'm a big fella, and the fence don't hold me for very long. That's my biggest problem. So, there'll be incidents and things, and you have to sit on the fence a little bit, because we don't know what the outcome's going to be. And some of the guys, it's a dangerous sport. Some of them get hurt, and then want to be wading in a little bit, like the Liverpool incident the other night, where the player was, he's done his knee in for the season, and they're trying to drag him off the pitch and push him off and all the rest of it. So we don't want any of that. We just the hardest thing is when your favourite rider's going around the outside of somebody and riding that bike like they've stolen it and they're 2 inches from the fence. And to remain impartial then is absolutely impossible. Absolutely impossible. But you then have to appreciate it when somebody does that to one of your riders.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have the same appreciation. Whether it's a fan of a club that have been ridiculing it, because I mean I do watch the socials and stuff, and I see what's put on there, and some of it is absolutely hilarious. Some of it's absolutely hilarious. Some of it is just arguing the toss. So I enjoy all of it, all aspects of Speedway.
And is this something you want to carry on doing? Like I think it's 3 or 4 years you've done it for now. Is this something you want to carry on doing?
Yeah, as long as Dan Board wants me, and as long as Dan and Matt want me, then I'd love to continue doing it. It's I've been down to Plymouth for BSN on an occasion, and I've had to do pool once for BSN on an occasion when their commentators have been ill or been struck down on the day, and I've jumped in, and then you have to remain totally impartial, but you can use the little bits of knowledge that you have about, Danny King was riding, I think, on one of the meetings, and I know that Danny, when he starts on the outside sort of gates and it gets a bit slick at Paul, don't mention slick at Paul, oh my God, don't. When it sometimes gets a bit slick at Paul on the outer gates, and I know that Danny will sit back on the seat and sit bolt upright when he goes to start, and he'll gate with less revs and stuff, and I kind of ended up sort of mentioning that, and then Danny watched it back and said, "Oh, thanks for giving away all my starting tips, you idiot." And I said, "Oh, sorry, Dan. I kind of didn't realise." So some things I've got to keep to myself a little bit more, but I just can't do it.
But that's also got to be a confidence boost that BSN do come in and ask you to cover if needs be. That's a vote of confidence that they think you're good enough and impartial enough to step in if they need somebody too.
Yeah, I think Ben and Martin do an absolute great job with BSN, and where they've gone to where they are now, I think they've been exceptional, and it really is kind of TV standard, isn't it? And we're all trying to keep up with them with every live stream. Not saying we're copying them, because but that's the benchmark where you want to be, and some weeks you do things you think, yeah, that was a little bit better this week, that was good, and so you enjoy it. I think Speedway needs them, but BSM for me is an outlet for every Speedway fan that we already have. We've got to somehow get new Speedway fans to BSN and watch it that way.
Just a quick one, as you mentioned BSN. Sorry, Dill.
Carry on, boss.
BSN, I know there was a great help with Scorpions TV as well. Like, there was always there at the other end of the phone if anything was messing up, even if they had their own streams on. Was they the same with you guys?
I think pretty much so. I mean, Andy Haig runs ours, who used to be Speedway Portal, and I think still is. And he used to do lots of filming for the club at the time, and that would be the footage that you probably see on the local news and stuff. And Andy's now taken on and producing and directing us, and he is relentless. He works tirelessly to try and make sure that Pirates TV is the very best that it can get. He is so encouraging to me, as he's kind of like a boss that's not a boss. He's kind of happy to have me, but he's so encouraging to both Rob and I in how we do things, and he's so encouraging, and without Andy, Pirates TV just wouldn't be what it is, and he's amazing, and his brother helps out with a roaming camera, so Pirates TV is a success, and it's lovely to be part of it. But the core of the success is Andy Haig, and how brilliant he is, and how meticulous he is about what he wants us to see.
And me and Dan get on really well with Andy Haig, so we can both attest to that as well. He's a really good guy. You mentioned there about TV deals and attracting new fans rather than showing to what we've got. And you said something really interesting to me yesterday about obviously the last couple of days I've been watching the Modus Super Series darts on Pluto TV, and I'd never heard of Pluto until I downloaded it and started watching that. And that could just sort of explain the idea that you said to me yesterday that Speedway could look at just to attract new people.
So Pluto TV is an app basically. It's like an app on any of your generic devices, your TVs or whatever. And you just pop on the app, and Pluto TV has 200 channels on it, and you can watch reruns of the A Team all day. Which I shouldn't be doing. I should be watching the darts. And Modus Super Series is live darts 6 days a week, and it's on this app for certain times. And darts has its own 24/7 darts channel on there. And so we're providing content. I mean, every for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for this channel to run. And a lot of the content is due to having this live content. And I just wondered whether there was a way of maybe getting in BSN on some sort of app in that direction. And, the adverts and things all pay for the darts to go through it. So Pluto TV is an absolutely free app. So whether there's a scope for maybe somebody like BSN to even put the lower leagues on there, or, the championship on there or whatever, or could we even find could British Speedway, do we have enough footage to have our own app to do a 24-hour TV thing? I don't know, but I know that we're on Pluto TV and we're the most watched live sport on TV darts at the moment on their sort of app. So it's owned by Paramount as well. It's not owned by a silly little sort of half-edged company. It's Pluto TV is owned by Paramount and available in most sections around the world if it's opened and released to those. So it would be nice to see Speedway on something like that, wouldn't it?
And it's easy access as well. I downloaded it yesterday, and I was you sign in, it's all for free, and then you can just sit and watch it. And I was really surprised with the amount of channels on there. And then you mentioned about Speedway, and interestingly enough, I'd had the same thought when I went onto it, like a British Speedway TV channel on there or something would draw in just casuals that are on there to watch something else.
The Pluto TV saying it's stream now, pay never.
Yeah,
I love that. Yes. That's their slogan. Pluto TV, stream now, play never. What a great thing if we could get it on there. But how that affects the clubs, obviously I don't know how clubs get paid by whatever and how the finances work, but you would think that somebody somewhere maybe would be able to get hold of them and maybe sort something out and even find out what it was about. Even if it's a no-go, it may be a dead end, but it would be something to try, I think.
And just the final one for the Speedway section of this chat, the Pirates team last season won pretty much everything apart from the BSN series, and that took a very inspired performance from Red Car and particularly Jody Scott to stop Paul winning that, but another very successful year last year.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, everybody thinks that Paul win everything and we all take it for granted and all the rest of it. I could assure you we don't. We don't as fans, but the way that Matt and Dan build a team, and the way that they've been building Matt in particular have been building the team for 20 years, and he throws them in the pits, and then Midlow makes something of them. It's a bit of everything, I think, that goes into it. I thought Red Car were an excellent team last year, a really, really good team. I enjoyed watching them when they came to Wimborne Road. I watched them and even got their TV stuff when we were up there, and I thought they were just a bit unlucky to come across the Paul team as strong as it was. We weren't that strong at the start of the year. We kind of came good at the end of the year when we needed to, and I think it'd have been a terrible season for British Speedway if Red Car had to pick something up.
And the core of the pool team for this year is the same again. There's been 2 or 3 changes. Anders Rowe has obviously moved over to Oxford. Paul Stark and Tobias Thompson are not back as well. But then you've got Fraser Bowes in, Cooper Russian, one of the most exciting prospects in world speedway at the moment, as well, and Dan Gilks on an average below 5. So there's a hell of a lot of potential for improvement in this year's pool team as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think Fraser came and had a 13, paid 16 or something middle of the year. I think that's probably what perked the Fords' ears up when they saw him belting around our place. So, yeah, he did come back and have not such a good time as a guest, but, these things happen. Yeah, I think Dan Gilks, we know that Dan was just starting to fly, but obviously he's been a little bit injury prone in the last couple of seasons. I'm looking forward to seeing what he's got for us. I really am. I think that's could be a really inspired signing. Zach coming back is a bit of a something out of left field. We kind of all just got to the point where we'd accepted he was going, and now he's back. So I look forward to having him back. Yeah, and obviously Cooper going alongside will probably be one of the youngest sort of pairings in the reserve berth. I'm really, really excited to see what they do. I think we have to remember with what's going on with Fraser, with Dan, and with Will and Cooper, we've got to give them a chance to get to know our track. We are ones that start straight away on the social media after 2 bad meetings. Somebody's on the rider's back. So we all know that riders don't go to ride badly. They don't go out there to not score, because if they're not scoring, they're not getting paid. So some of the comments at times are a bit harsh, but we've got to give these guys a chance.
And I think Dan's got a couple of questions that we were sent in to ask.
Oh, okay.
So a Scottish geezer we know called Alan McNally says, who's your favourite darts player to face and why?
I'm really good friends with Scott Waits, Scotty Too Hotty. We became mates back early doors. We played, I think, in about 2008, one of my first tournaments. I got to the final of the Swedish Open, and we played each other in the Swedish Open, and he, in his Yorkshire accent, says, "You're not bad, you, mate. You're not like them other Southern. You're not like them other Southern softies. You're a bit of fun, you are. You're all right." And we became mates then, and then he got me tickets to go to Lakeside, because I to just refresh myself of what I was trying to achieve by being on the circuit. And he got me tickets in 2009 at the end of that season when I didn't make it. And then I made it for the next 10 years off the trot. So I enjoy playing him. There's no nonsense between the two of us. We just get on and play. We even have a bit of a giggle at times with each other when we're playing. It's quite a relaxed game, and we both play our best. I managed to turn him over in the quarterfinals of the World Championships in 2020. And then 4 days later, we went to Q School, and he turned me over and got his card. Stopped me getting the tour card. So, and there's no animosity between us. And when the Pro Tours were up in Barnsley, I would go and stay at Scott's house. He was about 35, 40 minutes away, and he'd let me go up there, and so I didn't have a cost of a hotel and stuff. We've just been great mates, and yeah, we have a laugh, and we do enjoy playing one another.
And for anybody that's listening, that's a bit like myself and just starting to get into darts, what sort of advice would you give to somebody just wanting to start chucking a few arrows?
I think first and foremost, you've got to enjoy it. You've got to enjoy it, because if you're not enjoying it, you won't be bothered to do it. Secondly, learn the game. Learn the game. There's the game is to before you even go to play in a club or pub, you really need to learn how to mark. So if you can chalk a game, I was never allowed to play on the board in our local pub until I could mark a game. So until I could do one faultless, mark it through, and I was about, 15 at the time, 14, 15, till I could learn how to mark, I wasn't allowed to play. So that's the next thing, because you need to learn how to mark, you need to learn how to count to then start memorising the shot outs. So when you see a 1-4-1 shot out, you will know exactly where to go because you've done the counting. Or while you're marking, you've seen somebody attempt it. So it all goes into the top of your head. Lots of people on the think that when we're playing on the TV and we've got these big shot outs left, or we hit this and go for that and what have you, we're counting while we're throwing. We're not. It's a combination of numbers. So I know that for a 1-4-1, I need to hit a treble 20. And that leaves me 81, and I can go for treble 15 for double 18 or treble 19 for double 12. Depends whichever way you want to go. And you start to learn that those are combinations, and you find of those combinations, you have more favoured ways to go that you prefer to go. But so you've got to learn the game first and foremost, and then you've got to try and set yourself up in a throw that can't really go wrong. Got to be able to hit a 180. You've got to throw 3 darts exactly the same. You've got to stand in the same place. Your elbow's got to be at the same height. You've got to grip the dart at the same place. You've got to propel it forward at the same power. And once you start learning how to do that, the game becomes easy. Well, easier.
And it's
if you don't ever master darts, you don't ever master it. It always owns you. Just when you think you've got it licked, it then comes back and bites you on the bum. It is a horrible game.
And it's interesting you mentioned about chalking there. This year I've been playing darts for like 14 years. Never much good, but we've been playing for about that long. And you used to play knockouts in pubs and stuff, and it was always if you lost you'd mark. And people would actually pay money to somebody else to go and mark for them. And I always used to think, what's the point? If you enter, you want the entire experience.
Prima donnas, they are. I call them prima donnas. To be honest, when I've lost, I'm usually that angry. You need to get me out of the way of anybody in the general public. Because if I was a racer, I'd be lobbing goggles about and all over the place. I like to just, when I've lost and it's a tight game or somebody I don't particularly like, people say, "Oh, do you like everybody that you play darts with?" And what you've got to remember is it's kind of work. So you're playing for money. And I say to people at exhibitions that ask me that, I say, do you like everybody that you've ever worked with? Do you get on with everybody that you've ever worked with? And darts is very much the same. We might not have public arguments, but there's one or two that you just don't gel with because you don't gel with them. You just don't see things eye to eye. So you don't hate one another, but you just avoid one another. So when I have games like that there are players that I really want to beat, and I lose to them, I tend to just walk to that board and stand and wait for, even if it's 20 minutes, it keeps me away. On the other side of the barrier, nobody can talk to me. I'm stood by the board just waiting to go because I know that that's what I need to do to calm myself down more than anything.
And personally, I've always found, I don't know if this is the same for you, but if you lose a close game, I always find that more difficult to take than getting beat 6-0, 8-0, 10-0. I'd rather lose like 6-1, 6-0 than lose a very close 6-5. I find that really difficult to take.
Absolutely, and well, we've seen Cameron Menzies not taking it very well.
Oh yeah.
And I tell you what, he's not the only one that feels like it. I think we all feel like it at times when it's a close game, and particularly in the PDC, you're not talking. Back in the BDO days, if you lost out in the last 32 or last 64 game, you'd won 20 quid for the last 64 and you won 35 quid for the last 32. So you'd only lost 15 quid. It's quite easy to take that. When you start missing doubles and it's costing you 15 grand, that makes life very difficult in your own head. And then you start looking at your wife in the crowd and she's like tutting at you. And then you think, oh no, it's one of those things. I think the way that it works, it's to do with the financial rewards in the game now are so massive. I mean, you look at the world final between Littler and Jean Van Veen the other day, and Littler picks up $1 million, and Jean Van Veen went home with 400 grand. And you think, well, 400 grand, not bad. It was a 600,000 game. They were playing basically for 600,000 difference, all on a throw of a dart. And those guys seem to handle it pretty well,
I've just had a question sent in from Dan Winchester literally just now, and I think I know the answer to this one. What's the best venue you've played in?
Lakeside by a country mile. It's just it was the home of World Darts when World Darts started getting big. I've played at Ali Pally. Ali Pally's okay. I liked it, but I think the thing now is as kids come into the game, all they've seen is Ali Pally. They haven't really seen, Lakeside wasn't on. It's not on terrestrial TV like it used to be, and so that was the easiest thing to watch on BBC was Lakeside. So the kids now, as they're coming through, you ask them the question at 15, 16 years old, they want to go to Ali Pally. But for me, Lakeside is always the home.
And can you feel the history that Lakeside's got when you walk in? Can you sense it? I've never been there, but can you feel it?
You do. There's just a certain way about it. You've seen it so much on telly and everything, and you walk through the doors, and it's still now for me. I was commentating back there in December for the Lakeside, and the hair still stand up on the back of your neck. And the nostalgia of the place as a venue, you go out the back into the players' room, and up until about 2020, I think every player that had appeared at the Lakeside had their picture. I was a sort of like a Hall of Fame, a wall of fame out the back. And to be on that wall of fame with the greats, with the Jockey Wilsons, with the Bristows and all that, and from yesteryear and my era when I started watching it, is very, it's heartwarming. You feel you've achieved just by being in the venue, and then you can go into another venue, another part of the venue, and they've got pictures up of every performer that has ever performed there. From the likes of Jim Davison and Chubby Brown, and to the 3 Degrees and the Pointer Sisters, and they're all there. The Grumbleweeds. They're all up there. All these stars that have performed on that stage. And when you go there, and at my age, like I am at 55 now, I think you're walking the same boards as Tom Jones and people that have appeared there. It's just a very nostalgic place. That's just what it is.
Palmer, you got any more questions that have been sent in?
I haven't, mate. No.
Did Alan not? No, Winchester sent one.
I haven't got it.
Oh, Dan Winchester asked if you prefer a 170 or a 9-darter.
I'd say a 9-darter because I haven't done one on telly. I've done a 170 on telly, done that. But yeah, I've not done a 9-darter. I've missed it probably 5 or 6 times on double 12, which prompted my dad when he was still alive to say, I think it's about time you switched to double 18, Arthur.
Oh, did you used to go the conventional way?
Absolutely, yeah. I go the conventional way. I was going to hit it that way. Now people are trying to leave 150 and go bull, particularly on the Super Series. They're trying to, because it's been done so many ways now. Littler's, I think, done it as well on treble 20, double 15. People are now trying to think of other ways to do it, which is just preposterous, really. There's only one way to do it. But apparently there are 367,000 something different ways you can do a 9-dart or something. 387 ways. Bobby George told me. He's worked them all out. There are 367 different ways to do a 9-darter.
Blimey.
But yeah, I haven't worked them out myself. I believed him.
And we were talking just before we came on. It's been 11 years last week since you were crowned the BDO World Champion, beating Martin Adams. What was that like for you to get that maiden World Championship? It was amazing, really. Everybody in the room said that they felt that I was going to win it from the start of the week. And my wife asked me when we put the cases in the bag on the Friday night, and I was to play on the Saturday. And we have always had a players on the Friday night at Lakeside and everything. And I put the bag in the car, and I said, if I don't win it this year, I'll never win it. And I went up and won it. And I can't believe that I brought it home. Even when I hit the double, you try for 2 3/4 hours to beat the man. And Martin Adams was the man at the time. He was the best in the BDO. He'd had 3 titles. He'd had a couple of World Masters. He was just our best player at the time. And so to turn him over, I hit the dart at the double, and I turned around, and
I wanted to jump up and down and run around the stage and pull the shirt over my head, but I couldn't. I turned around and I shook Martin by the hand and I said to Martin, and this is the legend that he is, Martin, I'm not going to celebrate this like mad. I said, I can't do it to you. I respect you too much. And he grabbed me and looked at me and shouted at me and said, get out there, son, and you do it. You celebrate. It's the biggest moment of your life. You go for it. Don't worry about me. I've had my turn. It's now yours. And those people out there own you for a year. Get out there and celebrate. And I went out to the edge of the stage and just went absolutely mad. And the fluffy dog that I threw in the crowd at the start of the game that I always did got thrown back at me from the crowd and straight in the face. I thought, oh, that was obviously that person did not want me to win. They wanted Martin Adams to win. So the person that got my fluffy dog must have been a Martin Adams fan. But obviously I called it, picked it up and lobbed it back. But yeah, it's the most. I had such a great year with it because Stephen Bunting had won it the year before and he didn't tour the trophy around. He went to the PDC, so he never took the trophy with him. And I think the year before that, Christian Kiss won it, went over to the PDC. So I've got to be honest, I was expecting an invite to the PDC when I won it. And I would have probably gone because that's where the money was. That's where, but Mr. Hearn, about 2 hours after I'd won it, put on his Twitter saying if Scott Mitchell wants a tour card, he can bloody well go to Q School and go and win one. So me being me thought, right, well, you can keep your bloody tour card. I'll come when I'm good and ready. And I didn't. So I stayed in the BDO for another 5 or 6 years before it looked like the BDO started to wane, and I went to Q School and got a card.
And you talk about Q School. Obviously, last week was this Q School for this year. It was fair to say it was a bit of a roller coaster of emotions for you that week.
Yeah. I was so confident that on Tuesday morning I booked me. I cancelled my hotel because I was playing that bad at the first 2 days. I didn't think I was going to get through the first phase. So I phoned up the wife and I said, get and cancel the hotel so we can get the money back on that. She said, what? I said, I ain't going to be here till Sunday. There's no way I'm going to. I said, have you seen how I'm playing? I said, I've had some rum draws. I said, I'm just not with it at the minute. I said, I can't get any sort of momentum going. Righto, so the minute I think we cancelled the hotel, something must have clicked in my head. And then off I went and won the Wednesday and got through to the last 4 days to phase 2. So, and then on the first day of that, I beat the new ADC, the amateur global champion, who just picked up 60 grand 4 days before from winning the ADC global championship. And I beat him 6-2. And I thought, oh, I'm on a run here. And then I never won another game again. It was some tough draws. You know, you got the best players that haven't got a tour card in the world trying to get cards. You know, we have the Luke Littler effect where you've got more players playing now than we ever have before. You know, when a couple of 18 months ago, you know, people were buying dartboards and there weren't enough dartboards in the country. Nobody had a dartboard because everybody bought them all up. That's how big an influence Luke had. And it's now the knock-on effect of that. Those people from a couple of years ago are now all wanting to go to Q School, now want to be the new Luke Littler, and then they're all getting in my way and forcing my retirement early if I don't watch it.
And so this year, obviously, you entered Q School. You didn't get a card, but you do qualify for the Challenge Tour. Is that something you're going to be doing throughout the year, or is it just dependent on everything?
Actually, I've got a Challenge Tour starts tomorrow at Milton Keynes. So I've got 2 events tomorrow. So I will be, once we're done here, I'll be jumping in my car and heading to my hotel in Milton Keynes. So yeah, hopefully we'll get there around 10, half 10, and then get my head down and head to the venue in the morning.
And we'll just ask a couple more, and then we will let you go and get yourself sorted for that. Dan Winchester has again messaged and said, if you were a speedway promoter, would you design Kevlars based off of your iconic pink and black dart shirts?
It's a bloody lootly. There'd be nobody not knowing who my team was, I'll tell you.
Brilliant.
I have had the privilege of actually being in the pits when Midlow was on holiday once and Javi was running the team down at Wimborne Road, and he's our manager up north and everything. And I actually ran round. I was doing the program for Javi.
Brilliant.
Because he can't write and do this and smoke and everything else that he does in the pits and everything else. So I was running around behind him with me board and everything, and that was just one of the most eye-opening things ever. Not just because I think it mainly because it was Javi, and there's nothing normal about our Javi. I love him to bits. He's one of my heroes from Speedway, and we get on. We're mates now, and I'll be on Pirates TV, and Javi will message me something, and like the inside of Wimborne Road on Turn 4, I call it the Javi Avenue, because he used to find a line there with a bit of dirt that nobody else would get on and pass people up the inside. So I call that the Javi Avenue, and I think he feels a little bit honoured that I do that. But he's just such a great guy, and to see how he manages a team and how he gets the riders going, along with Midlow. I've been in there with Midlow as well, but he does his own program. But yeah, it's just kind of great to see how these good managers get these riders to buck their ideas up. It's a great thing. But yeah, if I was a promoter. Yeah, I would definitely have everybody in pink and black.
And just the last one, and maybe a bit of a controversial one. Obviously, you're a methodical darts player. You're not running around the stage at 300 mile an hour. And there was a sort of an infamous incident, I suppose, at the World Championships where Joe Cullen called out Mensa Suljovic for cheating, for being very slow and methodical. Does it concern you, as somebody that's a methodical and slower player, and you play at your own pace, that perhaps, the word cheat is thrown around willy-nilly these days if you're not doing what people expect you to do?
Absolutely not. Don't worry about it. What I am. I've played at the UK Open, got to round 4 in 2024 at Minehead, and I had to play Nathan Aspinall. And I'd played really well for the first 3 games and got through them, and I think Nathan beat me 10-7 or 10-6, and his interview afterwards was more or less the Joe Cullen interview on Mensa Suljovic. And they said, did you enjoy, you're pleased to get through the game? Yeah, I'm pleased to get through the game. I didn't enjoy the game one iota. He's too slow. He's too methodical. He doesn't allow me to get on and do what I want to do. And that's the biggest problem that most have. Some people, that's the way it is. For me, I think when I start rushing a little bit, I throw too many darts away and I make mistakes. When I slow the game down a bit, and for me, it's not done to try and put anybody else off. It's done for me to throw my best. If it hinders somebody, then I don't mean it to, but some people do prefer to play fast players and run around in a circle and have things their own way. With the way that I play and being methodical, I get things my own way every time. So, if sometimes you will see, I will watch players try and mess me around. And they'll try and slow me down, which is quite comical, really. I've had that with top players like James Wade and things have tried to slow me down, and I'm sat there 4-2 up on them, and they're just shaking their head behind me. Well, it's not me doing anything; it's them doing something to themselves. So I do kind of get it. I do kind of get it, but I think there's nothing in the rules to say you have to do it in a certain way. I tend to count. So I throw my darts. Once my last dart has left my hand, I then count. I walk up to the board and I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4. Take my darts out, 5, 6. Walk back round the other player, and I get to whatever number I get to when the player's finished, and that's what number I go to all day that day or that game. So I'm counting, and I'm counting the seconds. So the minute that another player tries to mess me about, either by speeding me up and running quicker, because I've counted as I've walked back in the circle, I know who's messing who about. And my numbers stay the same. I'm not changing anything. So then I know who's messing who, and I know who's trying to mess me about. And it's something that me and Bobby George developed and worked on when, 15 years ago now. And it's something that I still do today. It's so that I know that I'm doing things at my pace. They can do what they want. They can try to speed me up. They can try to slow me down. But it's usually my opposition that try to make me look slower than I actually am.
And that's kind of the point Glenn Durrant made as well when he was talking about the Suljovic thing. He didn't break any rules. There is no rule to say you have to throw in a certain time.
No, there isn't. There isn't at all. There is not. And it's kind of, it's frustrating. sometimes I'm out of breath, sometimes chasing people around. I mean, that frustrates me, but nobody ever moans about everybody throwing fast. I mean, I've got me an inhaler out there on the table sometimes. They're running around in circles. I can't do that. I'm 55. I can't be running around in circles like that.
And I do understand what you're saying, because I used to be one of these people that would throw really quickly. I almost throw a little bit like Michael Smith, but then run around the stage like Ricky Evans. There's kind of that hybrid, and I've deliberately tried to slow myself down, and I've found my average going up and my darts going more where I want them to go now.
Yeah, I think you have to. Josh Rock is another one. He throws his darts at a certain pace. You want to see him go. He's like Roadrunner. He straight in there and out and around the corner. And I haven't even my eyes haven't even focused on the treble 20 yet. He's back behind me. I've played him. He's back behind me. And I'm like, hang on a minute, my eyes aren't even focused.
Brilliant. Palmer, have you got anything else?
So the only one other question I would have is, with how popular darts is now, particularly between the sort of age brackets of 80 to 40-year-olds, could Speedway learn a lot from that to try and get more people into stadiums?
Speedway is just it's such a niche market, isn't it? When we look back to the 70s and see who was going, I think we probably missed a trick in maybe the 90s and the early 2000s when it was on TV an awful lot. And there was lots more, and the money was coming in, the TV money was coming in, and maybe the game then wasn't promoted to the point that it was when in the 70s when I got interested and when other people got interested. Because me and my daughter did it one night. We were stood there on the gate just waiting for somebody to meet up with somebody, and we did it older and younger than her. And the age group is so high. 2/3 of the people going through were older than me at 50. And you think we're losing the sport. It's because we're losing the fans that love it, and we're not reintroducing new fans to the sport. Yes, there are youngsters that come. I'm not saying there are none whatsoever, but we're probably not bringing them in at the quantities that we're losing them at the other end. That they're unable to come anymore because they can't get there or whatever, or age doesn't allow them to stand up or whatever for the hour and a half or 2 hours or walk to the stadiums. So I think there's lots and lots of reasons why that happens. But I think maybe we missed the boat in 2000 when the sport was pretty big. Ricardson and Laram and it's kind of changed, and I think maybe British Speedway missed a little bit there. Rested on their laurels a little bit too much, maybe.
And it is concerning the way that British Speedway is going as well. It feels like, we say this every year, there's a nail in the coffin. It feels like we're going to run out of spots to put nails in soon.
Yeah, it does at times. I've got to say, our promoters at Poole, they don't leave any stone unturned. They really don't. We had, one year, a couple of years ago, we had youth football matches going on before the meeting started in the centre green, trying to get the kids to stay and watch the meeting. And we had like a whole tournament going on every week. There was loads from local to the. There's lots of things that Matt and Danny Ford have done that other clubs haven't done. But how successful it is, it's difficult to measure.
And you mentioned Lou Littler actually just now. He's beat Paul Lim in the Bahrain Darts Masters 6-1 with 106 average and a 170 checkout.
Fancy picking on 72-year-old Paul Lim like that.
It's ridiculous how talented that boy is.
He is amazing. He is absolutely amazing. I've done darts exhibitions with him, and I've actually got one coming up in Bournemouth on the 11th of April with him. And he's just a phenomenon. And you go and sit down with him. He's just a guy that loves darts. We had an exhibition back in Croydon in December, and on his iPad he was watching the Motor Super Series.
He's just a kid living his best life,
waiting to play, watching other people at the Motor Super Series, his mates and his friends. He just loves darts that much. He's an absolute phenomenon. A little bit like Smarslick, really. He's just a phenomenon. He's a once in a generation type person, I've heard him say lately, you know, everybody said, how many world championships you're going to get? Well, he said, I'm aiming for 16 like Phil Taylor. I'm 2 down, 14 to go. And I think it's a great answer.
And there is a genuine chance he could do that as well, although the standard is maybe higher now than it was when Taylor was in his prime. You know, Littler and Humphreys are probably a step above everybody else.
It depends what motivates him, because by then, to be fair, he could retire now probably on the money that he's earned. You know, the rumours are that he's got £1 million worth of sponsorship on his shirt, and he's just won another £1 million, and you know, there's rumours he just bought a £1.3 million house to live in, and for him and his mum, his dad, and everything. I think the motivation for me is how much money does he need, and if he doesn't play for money, which Taylor did at the start, but then you get enough money that you're playing the game for the game. You want to win certain titles, and he's nearly won all of those as well now. So for me, yes, he's at the age that he could go on and on and on, but realistically, how much money do you need, and how much is the money motivating him, or how much of the titles motivating him? I think we'll find that out in the next 3 or 4 years.
And the very last one now, you touched on going to the Challenge Tour straight after this, and you've mentioned the UK Open qualifier as well. Is that something you'd be doing this year, or is that, not an interest to you this year?
At the moment, probably not an interest to me at the moment. There is a route to the UK Open, sort of like through the Challenge Tour and stuff. But that's if you're playing really, really well. That's how I got there before. Your spare weekends you need to spend at home at times. I have got a farm to run as well on the side, trying to be a dart player and a commentator. And you don't want to come home and have too many weekends where the steam coming out your wife's ears going, oh, I've got a picture of you by the side of the bed so I can remember who you are, It really is that. I mean, in the years of the BDO, there were some weekends I would only get 3 weekends at home a year. Thank God Paul rode on a Wednesday. Because the weekends I was away every weekend. One of those was Christmas. So that's the dedication that the guys have to put in, and I'm just so lucky and so fortunate to be one of those that reaped the rewards and became a world champion off it, because I'm super proud of that, and obviously been England captain for 10 years of the international darts, and I'm so proud of that. Picked up a World Cup with them, and I won a €4 medal, a €4 gold medal for winning that. No gold in it whatsoever.
Worth absolutely nothing.
Absolute. Well, I suppose. I don't know. Yeah, it's worth something. I suppose. I don't know what. About £5, I think. But I think the badges down Paul were more expensive. But I think just to think that I've won one of these medals and I've picked up a World Cup trophy for England as captain. I can't believe they haven't knighted me yet.
And I think that's about it. Me and Palmer will be at Poole this year, so hopefully we'll get to put a fight. Obviously, me and you've done a couple of these interviews now, and they've both been brilliant value. And we can't thank you enough for coming on, especially after a busy day today, and obviously a full weekend of challenge tours coming up as well. We really appreciate your time tonight.
Look, there's no problem, mate. I love talking to Speedway people. I love it. We just have this same warped mentality, I think. We all just find one another somehow or another, no matter where we are.
Palmer, do you want to wrap us up?
So again, massive shout out to Scotty for joining us. He's been Dill, I've been Dan. That was episode 7 of Takes to Flag. Check us out next Thursday when we've got Cooper Russian coming on. Have a splendid week, and we'll see you later. Thank you.